The Effganic Genesis mod in TEW IX, created by IF and Rule, places us at the dawn of the wrestling industry. We've given ourselves an incredibly tough challenge as we aim to take down not only the first wrestling company in history, but the biggest as well. However, we are faced with some steep odds as a financial threat and monumental changes to the company are looming in the horizon. We are back in the WAM, the Wrestling Association of the Mid-South, and we just finished up the Frank Norris Memorial Show, and we had a big event in that instance, getting one of the best ratings that we've ever had in any one of our shows at a 41 rating. And you know, it ain't much, but we are steadily improving, and that is something that you'll love to see. Now, we've got a big episode in store today, and we've got some serious fallout after the events that took place at the Frank Norris Memorial Show. And we're not going to waste a whole lot of time. We're going to get right into the preparation of the amazing Grappling Spectacle 40. We've got some backstage incidents to take care of first, though, of course. Black Bull causing heat backstage with a mean-spirited rib he pulled on Neil Allman, our champion. We're fighting Black Bull, and Neil Allman is pleased at this instance. Saito Kuroki getting heat with the rest of the locker room. Now, he is prickly and he's already annoyed, so we're just going to go with a stern warning in hopes that, never mind, he is annoyed at this action anyway. So there is no pleasing Saito Kuroki, and he just gets unhappy everywhere he goes. Maybe it wasn't Don Loomis's fault. Now we've got Randy Edson failing to show up. We're finding him. He's unhappy at this instance. And Dean Florian also failing to show up for a meeting, and we're going to find him as well. Now, with that being said, we are going to roll with the ever risky hardline stance in hopes that we can get an overall morale improvement. Now, there are a couple names that I know that might not be too thrilled about this, like Saito Kuroki, but let's just see what happens here. And Saito Kuroki does in fact choose to walk out of the WAM, firing himself, and we are now down a road agent. But unfortunately, we were really hoping for more out of Saito Kuroki. We were looking for a main eventer, and at least in the WAM, he does not seem to be a main eventer. So we are now losing a big piece of our roster, and that is unfortunate, but it's not going to derail us too much. Because without further ado, we are getting right into the event. We've got a couple pre-show matches that we've got to get through first, starting off with a tag team match between Randy Edson, RT Lincoln taking on August Washburn and Benson Sandy. And we haven't seen Benson Sandy in so long that he's actually gotten rusty. And that is unfortunate. He's too good to be doing absolutely nothing, in my opinion. He is one of the better workers. In this match, he gets an in-ring performance of 35, as does RT Lincoln. Randy Edson with an in-ring performance of 22 and August Washburn at 24. We do see RT Lincoln and Randy Edson picking up the victory here with an overall match rating of 26. Another pre-show match, this time junior heavyweight action. Fumihiko Onoda coming out on top in a triple threat over Dean Florian and Kyson Mays. 10.5 minutes. Onoda with an in-ring performance of 26, Florian at 23 and Kyson Mays at 28. And these gentlemen put together a segment rating of 23. You can see down here that Christopher Hartwell is our road agent, as we are testing the waters here, as he's got the next highest experience to kind of fill that place that Saito Kuroki had. But we are getting into the show, and we've got Diego Berrigan and Dean Grudge coming out on top against Charlie Thompson and John Wolf in a tag team match. Now, John Wolf and Charlie Thompson are a part of this movement led by Brian Hatcher to basically just express their displeasure of all the new signings into the heavyweight division. So we got Charlie Thompson and John Wolf trying to stand up to that. However, they do not get the job done. They actually take the loss here, as Diego Berrigan continues to start to separate himself in this heavyweight division as he gets an in-ring performance of 36. Wolf and Thompson at 30, and then Dean Grudge at 27, but we can still see that Dean Grudge is still rusty. However, this is his last appearance on his contract, so we're undecided if we're going to re-sign him or not. Now, in the next match, we had our heavyweight champion putting his title on the line against Brian Hatcher, a man who actually picked up a victory at the Frank Norris Memorial Show. And Brian Hatcher felt strongly enough that he wanted a title match. Levi Andrews doesn't love Neil Allman, so Levi Andrews really had no problem giving an extra challenge to Neil Allman, even if Brian Hatcher wasn't necessarily the most deserving of contenders. Overall, we see an 8-minute match between Allman and Hatcher. Neil Allman with an in-ring performance of 44, Hatcher with an in-ring performance of 28. These two have great chemistry, although they only got a segment rating of 27. And this is the third time that Neil Allman has defended his heavyweight championship since becoming champion, just before the spectacle of Amazing Grapples. Big tag team match here, Joel Cartwright and Albie Dewberry making for a great team as they defeat Wayne Blankenship and Christopher Hartwell. This match was just under 11 minutes, it didn't even drag in the middle. These gentlemen can conduct such a match, you'll love to see it. However, Joel Cartwright, in-ring performance of 45, Albie Dewberry, in-ring performance of 48, that's the real interest here as the champion, and a seeming to be very formidable competitor in Joel Cartwright come away victorious here, although Christopher Hartwell and Wayne Blankenship did not do bad by any means, with performances of 37 and 33 respectively. But altogether, these junior heavyweights get a segment rating of 38. And after an impressive tag team victory, Albie Dewberry and Joel Cartwright shake hands and show a sign of respect, just planting some seeds between these two very talented competitors. And now our in-ring main event, we've got Black Bull and Bronson Fraley teaming together to take on Blue Mage and JP Cromwell, Levi Andrews' boys. And Bronson Fraley would in fact pick up the victory here after pinning JP Cromwell. We would also see Levi Andrews try to make an attempt to interfere into this match. However, Gabriela Suarez would actually be the difference maker and ultimately cause Levi Andrews to interfere with JP Cromwell, causing a bit of a distraction, allowing Bronson Fraley to capitalize, hitting that double arm faceplant and picking up the victory. We do see some good stuff going on here. The crowd heat, very hot. Blue Mage, in-ring performance of 35. Bronson Fraley up at 40. Black Bull even got a 31. JP Cromwell sub 30, sitting at 27, but Gabriela Suarez did some good work at ringside, and Black Bull and Bronson Fraley had great chemistry when teaming together. All in all, that creates a segment rating of 31, and Frank Norris's boys get a little bit of revenge on the Goonies of Levi Andrews. And as the show came to an end, Bronson Fraley refused to break eye contact with Levi Andrews, whose frustrations were clear after his plan backfired. Fraley pointed to Levi Andrews, signaling that there is still some unfinished business between the two. So just the slightest little bit of an exclamation point that these two, Bronson Fraley and Levi Andrews, are at the core of these issues. All in all, we get a show rating of 32, not our strongest show. We didn't have anything that really popped out, although we did build up some stories, we've got some progression, and we didn't really have any weak points either, so we'll take the good with the bad, and we're going to move on. So we praise Albie Dewberry and even give Onoda some encouragement. We did pay quite the bill for our roster today, but that's alright. And Dean Grunge is officially out of the Wham, and honestly, he's got really good brawling skills, and I love to see that. His technical skills aren't good. I want to see what he can do when he's not rusty, and maybe give him just a couple more chances to decide to move over to the United States like Fumihiko Onoda did, and even Diego Barragan. So I am going to offer him another 3 appearances to a contract. And another worker that I'm really interested in seeing, especially now that Saita Kuroki is out of the Wham, is Maxwell Ham. He is from Canada. This is another guy that we would be footing the travel bill in hopes that he decides to move and relocate to the Mid-South, but he's got some really good fundamentals, and even better physical traits to the exception of that really poor toughness. Not bad in the technical, aerial, and flashy categories, so this is someone that I think could be a nice little fixture in our heavyweight division. He's not going to be breaking the bank by any means, but I do want to bring him in. And you can see here, we renegotiated our contract with Saeed Wyndham. Unfortunately, the guy's got some decent stats, and he's got a quiet personality type, but I just have not used him really at all. And granted, I did just sign in another heavyweight to kind of take his spot, but he's just been sitting on the shelf for so long that he's starting to become unhappy with his inactivity. So we are going to go ahead and let Saeed Wyndham walk and hopefully keep our relationship somewhat intact to be able to re-sign him a little bit later on down the line. And in more contract news, we do have Dean Grunge and Maxwell Ham both accepting that contract. And you can see here that our hopes that Dean Grunge would relocate came true, and he now resides in the Mid-South. And this is for the shits and gigs. I don't think this is going to work, and I don't think I'm going to need this footage, but we are going to send Woodrow Gunter an exclusive handshake deal and just try to steal this man $35 a show, and we're gonna send the offer. The contract offer's been made, and if he comes back and accepts it, that will be huge. Granted, comparatively, no, I don't think $35 is overspending. That would be a huge signing. This man's got great skills, awesome basics, fantastic consistency, very safe. And like I said, I don't think that's going to be the case, but if it actually works, I will be amazed. This man spent 8 years with SPW, and I'm just going to try to nab him up. And then honestly, I don't even think I set a link to that contract, so we'll see what happens. This is what they get for taking Steven Vecchio. But that response is going to have to wait until we get through this next event, the Amazing Grappling Spectacle 41. We're here to see the locker room incidents. Let's see what we got. We actually have some positive things going on. We had a neutral and a positive instance, and that is big for the locker room morale. We're going to pull a rib on Benson Sandy. It went down well with the rest of the locker room, and Benson Sandy was not upset by it, so that's a win. We'll take that. But we've got another big event to get into, as we are now in the Amazing Grappling Spectacle 41, the 41st edition of this wrestling event, my goodness. And we get the night started off with a pre-show match, tag team action between some new faces plus Benson Sandy, who Benson Sandy makes a statement. He says, "Why you been keeping me on the sidelines for so long?" Benson Sandy with an in-ring performance of 44 here, my goodness. Dean Grunge and Fumihiko Onoda pick up the victory after defeating Maxwell Ham, making his debut alongside Benson Sandy. Outside of Benson Sandy's magnificent 44, Maxwell Ham got a 25 in his debut. He's rusty. Dean Grunge got a 33. He's rusty. And Fumihiko Onoda got a 25. And Onoda doesn't even have the excuse of being rusty. He just didn't turn in the best performance here. But moving on to start the show, Levi Andrews opening up the night, embracing his new villain-like perception from the crowd, openly belittling members of the audience and insulting their intelligence. Levi Andrews would continue his rampage of trash talk, beginning to turn his attention to Frank Norris. Levi Andrews stated that the Frank Norris Memorial event was a huge waste of time, citing it as a huge regret that he even let it happen in the first place. Levi Andrews would then begin to praise himself for the state of the WAM, and denounce Frank Norris for the poor financial situation he led the company into. Eventually, Bronson Fraley would begin to make his way to the ring, not having any Frank Norris slander. However, the former champion would be ambushed by Blue Mage and JP Cromwell, as the bodyguards of Levi Andrews would brutalize Fraley, leaving him in a bad way. Levi Andrews would leave Fraley's motionless body ringside, but not before announcing that he is scheduled for a tag team rematch from last week. So a whole lot of uncertainty on whether Bronson Fraley is going to be able to compete in this tag team match against JP Cromwell and Blue Mage once more. Moving into our first action of the night, we've got Albie Dewberry, our junior heavyweight champion, competing in some non-title action against Kyson Mays. And Kyson Mays not bad with an in-ring performance of 29, but Albie Dewberry taking it home with an in-ring performance of 45. So all in all, we see a segment rating of 33 for this match, and the match got to a good start, hot and rising. This is a pretty promo-heavy episode as we get another segment, Brian Hatcher making his way to the ring, accompanied by Charlie Thompson and John Wolf. Brian Hatcher would go on to complain about the large influx of new heavyweights being added to the roster, and threaten that he will continue to make their lives hell, refusing to give up his spot. More or less the same of what we've been hearing so far. He would also proceed to call out Diego Berrigan, who would then make his way to the ring, alone. Brian Hatcher would acknowledge Berrigan's talent and give him an opportunity to join up with Hatcher and his boys, offering to ensure no new heavyweights came out to take their places. Though Diego Berrigan would spit this idea back at Brian Hatcher, claiming that Hatcher is afraid of new competition, just like some of the other vets around notioning at Charlie Thompson and John Wolf. Diego Berrigan would then promise that not only will he take their spots, but he will take the main event spot as well, leaving the ring with defiance. And then in our next match, we get more junior heavyweight action as Joel Cartwright, Wayne Blankenship, and Christopher Hartwell took part in a triple threat. And while Joel Cartwright carried the match with his in-ring performance of 50, it was in fact Christopher Hartwell who was able to pin Wayne Blankenship and pick up the victory. Now Joel Cartwright has been the one with a ton of momentum. He's been picking up victories, stacking W's, and putting on great performances to boot. Christopher Hartwell, of course, is rather established. He's a veteran with championship experience and pretty good in-ring performances, but he actually shiced his way into a victory, much to the surprise of Joe Cartwright. Segment rating of 38 for this triple threat match. In what is supposed to be our in-ring main event, we see Black Bull taking on Blue Mage and JP Cromwell in a handicap match. No Bronson Fraley to be found. Bronson Fraley needs some milk and is not able to come out to the ring. Black Bull, fearless, takes on the Goonies of Levi Andrews, although these are some big boys, Blue Mage and JP Cromwell, and they take care of business, just absolutely dismantling Black Bull, hurting the man despite his best efforts. We only get a segment rating of 20, but it sets up the next segment. While Blue Mage and JP Cromwell are imposing their will on Black Bull, beating down on the outnumbered competitor, Neil Allman and Friedrich Herzog made an appearance at the stage, and they were ready to fight. These two heavyweights were ready to square up with the henchmen of Levi Andrews, and an impromptu match would then begin after Kamari Bryant called for the bell to be rang. So we would actually get a main event of Friedrich Herzog and Neil Allman going up against Blue Mage and JP Cromwell. Now, we get a segment rating of 24, and I think that's because of Blue Mage and JP Cromwell being involved in as many segments as they have been. We really tried to combat the overuse. There was no road agent note about overuse, but I think just the different amounts of segments that they've been in caused an effect that had a negative impact. As we get a wrestling rating of 44, but the segment rating all the way down at 24, and a really poor ending for our main event, and a really poor ending for our show. Friedrich Herzog and Neil Allman, of course, showed excellent chemistry teaming together, and they put up some really good in-ring performances as well, 51 and 53 for Allman and Herzog respectively. The ending of we were building up some steam for the show, but unfortunately it really just ended poorly and not in our favor, ultimately giving us an overall rating of 29, our worst show in a while, and honestly with the state of our company where we're at, we really shouldn't be getting anything lower than 30. We should be hitting 30 at the very least each time. I digress, they're not all going to be hits. We did have a little bit of a miss here, but we're going to bounce back. And Albie Dewberry is forever annoyed, so we're just going to continue to bombard him with positivity after the show. Now this is some good news that I'm seeing here. We've got FNP and SPW dropping out of negotiations to sign Woodrow Gunter. Big moves. I think we might be getting a big addition to our roster. And I can in fact confirm we absolutely stole Woodrow Gunter from SPW, and that felt good. We might be overpaying just a little bit comparatively to everybody else at $35 a show, but honestly, I'm willing to navigate those waters, no problem. We just scored big on a new heavyweight. Brian Hatcher's not going to be happy about this, but great fundamentals, solid experience, great popularity in the United States, specifically the Southeast, and we're going to build him up in the Mid-South as well. But a huge signing for this company. So we're going to have to wait just a little while until he is officially gone from SPW before we're able to use him just on our soft locking rules that we have in place. But this is a huge addition to our roster. And we see another instance where our little strategy of signing a free agent and unemployed worker that does not reside in our area, he ended up relocating. Maxwell Ham now lives in the Mid-South. So that's another man that we're not going to have to worry about paying travel for. And as we get ready for our next event, the locker room incidents, of course, Friedrich Herzog getting some heat with the locker room. We're going to give him a stern warning. Nothing happened from it. Dean Grunge spreading rumors about Benson Sandy. That ain't cool, man. We're finding ya. Benson Sandy pleased at this. And Blue Mage and RT Lincoln having a heated argument, as well as Diego Berrigan and JP Cromwell. And in quite the twist, Kuni Hashiguchi and JP Cromwell have now begun dating. And that's going to do it for our locker room incident, so congratulations to the new couple. We're going to pull a rib on Brian Hatcher, see what happens. Went down well with the rest of the locker room, and Brian Hatcher is not upset by it. You'd love it. And we are ready to go for our next event, the Amazing Grappling Spectacle 42. We've got some pre-show shenanigans, starting with a pre-show promo from Kyson Mays, just getting some reps for the boy. He's not the greatest in the performance sector, so we want to give him a little bit of work to give him a chance to get some improvement. Segment rating of 18 tells you that he needs the practice. Up next, we've got a triple threat, getting a pretty good segment rating actually. Black Bull, Benson Sandy, and Craig Bean. And Benson Sandy once again with a 45 in-ring performance. Craig Bean up to a 37. Black Bull down at a 30, which isn't terrible. to be the worst one in the match. We may need to revisit Benson Sandy's role in the company because that man is putting in some work. Our last pre-show match, we've got Fumihiko Onoda and RT Lincoln squaring off in some junior heavyweight action. I'm gonna call my own Ella here. I really had high hopes for Fumihiko Onoda, but I don't think he's gonna be what I wanted him to be. But that's okay because RT Lincoln is showing some promise here. We got a segment rating of 28 out of these two guys. And to open up the evening, we've got Levi Andrews in the ring, proud of what he refers to as his accomplishments, referencing the damage dealt to Bronson Fraley and Black Bull last month. Levi Andrews points out that neither man are here in attendance, and Levi Andrews encourages that if anyone feels any type of way about the way he runs this company, to please let him know so he can give them the same treatment that Fraley and Black Bull received. However, what Andrews did not expect was the heavyweight champion, Neil Allman, to make an appearance, with Friedrich Herzog acting as backup. The two made their way to the ring, confronting Levi Andrews, and Neil Allman would go on to call Levi Andrews the Wham's biggest problem, and claim that he has no issue banding together with some unlikely allies if it means taking down a few jackasses like Levi Andrews and his boys. So this is a big segment. It would set up a future match later on in the night, but we see Levi Andrews and Neil Allman improvising well through the segment, and we get a segment rating of 43 in total. But our show is going to begin with a one-on-one contest between Brian Hatcher and Maxwell Ham. Now this bout did drag in the middle, and we just get a segment rating of 21, not a great number, not what you want to see, but Maxwell Ham does pick up the victory with a quick cradle, and we would see Diego Berrigan make an appearance, distracting Brian Hatcher and allowing Maxwell Ham to capitalize, giving him his first victory in his debut match outside of a pre-show for Maxwell Ham. And then following that match, we would just see a giant 6-man brawl erupt between Brian Hatcher, Charlie Thompson, and John Wolf, brawling with Dean Grunge, Diego Berrigan, and Maxwell Ham. Segment rating of 24 here, but we do get some story progression for these guys. And there will be a specific payoff that we're looking for to get out of this storyline. Moving on to our next match, Joel Cartwright and Wayne Blankenship putting on a phenomenal contest with a segment rating of 39. Joel Cartwright had an in-ring performance of 48, and Wayne Blankenship had an in-ring performance of 37. So very good work here by these two junior heavyweights. This is the top of our pecking order in the junior heavyweight division, so you really do hope to see some good numbers out of there, and that's what we get. And this Neil Allman Blue Mage match stemming from the interaction that we had earlier in the evening, which caused this match to be booked. And interestingly enough, we've seen this match before, and it was almost exactly 1 year ago. It was August of 1927, and there was another lack of flow being noticeable in this 9-minute match, although Neil Allman, of course, the heavyweight champion, taking care of business here. But only getting a segment rating at 29, you really would like to see something better, but we do have a few penalties here. And our main event of the evening, a junior heavyweight championship match between Albie Dewberry and Christopher Hartwell, the man that won the triple threat last month. Now they put on a phenomenal match, 45 segment rating, and Albie Dewberry stands tall after forcing Christopher Hartwell to submit after 8 minutes 54 seconds. We wanted these boys to go out and steal the show, and that they did. And this is the first defense for Albie Dewberry since he regained the championship at the Frank Norris Memorial Show. So a big way to end the night with a big match and a segment rating of 45. That will give our show rating 42 in total. And we're going to praise Benson Sandy and Christopher Hartwell for their performances this evening. But that being said, it was a really uneventful month. So here we are, ready to go with the Amazing Grappling Spectacle 43. And our pre-show match puts up fantastic numbers, and we see Craig Bean coming out on top in a triple threat against Wayne Blankenship and Dean Grunge. Now Dean Grunge is no longer rusty, and he's putting up in-ring performances of 43. Now that is something that you like to see. Great work out of Dean Grunge here, and he's finally coming out of the woodwork. Craig Bean the victor with an in-ring performance of 39, and Blankenship with an in-ring performance of 32 as he was hanging with the heavyweights. Overall segment rating of 36 for our pre-show match. And to open up the actual show, we only get a segment rating of 26, so a 10-point drop unfortunately. But we actually see Brian Hatcher and Charlie Thompson defeating Diego Berrigan and Maxwell Ham. Brian Hatcher pinned Maxwell Ham after a lariat, and we would also see John Wolf run in and attack Diego Berrigan. And that attack would be the difference maker, separating Diego Berrigan from his tag team partner, isolating Maxwell Ham, who actually paced the match with an in-ring performance of 32, the best out of the bunch. Charlie Thompson at 28, Brian Hatcher at 25, Maxwell Ham at 32, and Diego Berrigan at 30. Not a terrible way to start off the show, as the match does get the show off to a strong start. Up next, we get a segment rating of 37 as we see the debut of Woodrow Gunter. Now, it's crazy to me that Benson Sandy is really supposed to be some enhancement talent right now, but he is out here with an in-ring performance of 41, outpacing the big signing that we just made, and overall we get a segment rating of 37 with a really strong match, as Woodrow Gunter makes his debut. Next segment, pre-match, we see Albie Dewberry, the junior heavyweight champion, making his way to ringside to spectate the next contest between two potential contenders. Segment rating of 35 here, and who are those contenders? Why, none other than Joe Cartwright and Christopher Hartwell. Honestly, I thought we'd get a better match out of these two, but still not a bad match by any means. Joe Cartwright with an in-ring performance of 40, and Hartwell with an in-ring performance of 32. Joe Cartwright, of course, does pick up the victory after 9 minutes, and Joe Cartwright has now defeated Christopher Hartwell one-on-one, and you would think that this would pretty much cement his place as the next #1 contender for Albie Dewberry's championship. And following the victory, Joe Cartwright makes a notion to Albie Dewberry, gesturing a championship belt around his waist. This would bring the champion into the ring, and the two competitors shared an intense exchange. Albie Dewberry would leave the ring, but not before raising his title belt to remind everyone just who the champion is. Segment rating of 42, and we build some anticipation for the clash between Dewberry and Cartwright. Our main event of the evening, the first ever 6-man tag team match, 3-on-3, Levi Andrews, the pioneer of match types that he has become, implements a new match type as we get a little bit of group warfare here as Neil Allman, Bronson Fraley, and Friedrich Herzog take down Lights Camera Action, which is Levi Andrews, Blue Mage, and JP Cromwell. And Bronson Fraley, this had to feel sweet for him as he is the one to get the victory after pinning Levi Andrews following a double arm face plant. And from our main eventers, we see some good numbers. 46, 40, 46 from Herzog, Fraley, and Allman respectively. Blue Mage also had a great performance of 41. Levi Andrews over at 34 and JP Cromwell down there at 24. Gabriela Suarez did a good job ringside, so that's a nice little bonus there, and overall we get a segment rating of 38 to finish off the show. That will give us a overall show rating of 38, but overall a pretty strong show that moves some stories forward. We've established a new contender for the Junior Heavyweight Championship, and Woodrow Gunter has made his debut here in the WHAM. And honestly, I'm going to praise Benson Sandy and Woodrow Gunter because they really did perform nicely here tonight. We grow from 21 to 22 popularity in the Mid-South, and we do have a couple contracts running out with Dean Grunge and Gabriela Suarez. You can bet your ass we are going to negotiate with both of them, especially now that Dean Grunge is back in the Mid-South. And we'll just go with an ongoing handshake offer, and Gabriela Suarez is going to get a 6-month offer from us as well. Now, to get the responses from these contract offers, you'll have to tune into the next episode, and I'll give you another little spoiler. This last event was the final event with Levi Andrews as the owner of the company. What does that mean? Find out in the next episode. But big shout out to all the real ones on Patreon. You guys are awesome, and your support is greatly appreciated. As for everyone else, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take it easy.